G'day, this is Captainoob, and this is a Milano 821. This is a weapon that has been ported from Call of Duty Cold War, and it's based off a real-life firearm called a Sashimi Type 821. It's just basically one of those things, but give it a Coles brand name so they don't have to worry about paying licensing fees. But it's a real-life submachine gun made in Italy. Basically, they took an Uzi and they improved it and gave it none of the Italian flair or flamboyance that they'd give their supercars that they make over there. It's a very utilitarian looking weapon, and I don't think it looks half bad either. So whoever made this at the COD studio, they did a pretty good job, I guess. It comes with custom sounds, custom animations, the standard sort of rotoscope stuff. Makes it feel like it jumped right out of Call of Duty into Fallout 4. You can shoot things with it, and it'll do a pretty good job. The customization is there as well, so I guess we'll get into it. Also, it was made during the mid-80s too, so I think it's still in use today by some Italian police cops. So these guys mean business when they roll in with these things, so keep your heads down. Like the anti-terrorist units or something use it. But anyways, that's neither here or there. Let's get into the attachments. First of all, standard receiver. You can have this thing in semi-auto or full auto if you feel like it. Now, does it change what the fire selector does? Because I think that's it right there. It doesn't look like it does, but I can probably look past that. 147 damage for the advanced receiver. That's pretty good with a decent fire rate boost, but just under 100 damage fully auto, which I think is a pretty balanced approach, considering we're firing the 45 ACPs, which in itself is a powerful round, but you wouldn't expect those to be hitting a lot harder than your 5.56s. So we'll make this one automatic, but we will be checking out this thing in semi-auto form as well. Legendary slot is there if you want it, and you can make the barrel longer if you feel like it. It'll give you extra range on this thing, which means it'll hold its damage out a little bit better. 131 range is pretty nice, and we've immediately been shifted down into the magazines, which a drum magazine, 25 rounds. Really? That's it? I guess that's a reasonable amount for a drum like that, but yep, we'll throw on the drum for that better sustained fire potential. It's a light weapon anyway, so any sort of weight penalties will not really be too badly noticed here. And you can have a flashlight or a laser sight on the side. You may have seen the mount for this thing that is attached to this gun at all times, even when you don't have any of those attachments on, which is kind of interesting. But we'll throw a laser sight on. Helps with hipfire accuracy, very useful for a weapon suited to close range, like a submachine gun. You can have a flash guard, an eliminator. I'm guessing that's eliminating the flash. Or a suppressor here, which is a giant burrito on the end of your gun, but it'll get a little bit of extra damage and accuracy thanks to your ace operator. Accuracy is just from the extra barrel length. Good attention to detail like that. And you can throw on some sights. Now, I'm wondering if you can throw a scope on this thing. Looks like you can. Whether these are proper scopes or see-through scopes that have the scope keyword, I'm not really sure. But if they do have the scope keywords, we could probably use the sniper perk and get some cheap little knockdowns with this thing. So I think that's pretty good. And of course, they're going to have the standard sort of Call of Duty generic names to them. But this one looks a little bit like a Basker, probably a little bit thin. They've put it in the vise and crushed it too hard, but it's a reasonable facsimile of it. And you can throw some stocks on, like an Uzi stock, and you see this little stock mount at the bottom here. You can actually utilize that now, so that's just there if you don't want it, but you can put some things on like this. You can have a proper wood stock there. Nice little wooden furniture, looks well maintained. Let's have a SAS combat stock. Let's do it. And we get a damage modifier here, which you can go down to minus 100%. Fun fact, if you decide to use the minus 100% and put something like a light frame receiver, the damage will clock over into nothing, and since something digit binary system this game has, you'll get basically all the damage in the world. So if you want to just one-shot everything, light frame, minus 100% damage, and you'll be laughing, but we won't do that. We're just going to have no damage modifiers here. 120 damage, which is not too far off what you'd get for a vanilla game assault rifle, so that's pretty good, right? And the range isn't half bad either, so probably won't be crushing everything super easily, but I think it's a solid starting off point just looking at the numbers here. This weapon is super easy to get if a little bit unimmersive. Find the weapons Milano 821 on your chemistry workbench, and then you can craft them for Gun Nut Rank 2 and these resources. Done. Righto, so here we are outside of the Immersive Gunners Plaza once again, and here is our Milano / Sashimi Type 821, and this is what it looks like in first person. Pretty cool. The Basker sight looks like everything's lining up there, the sight and the laser sight itself, which is pretty nice. This is what it looks like in third person. Now, it's not perfect, obviously, but you could probably expect that the proportions of the Call of Duty player mod might be just a little bit different to Fallout 4, and plus we're playing as a female character. They're a little bit smaller, so perhaps on a male character there won't be so much stock clipping, but that's not enough to sink this boat here. I'm still on board with this thing. So here's the second one that I made with the drum, which, mind you, has 50 rounds instead of the 25 rounds that it says on the box, so perhaps a little bit of a typo on the attachment point, but this one has that see-through scope with the I think it's got a little bit too much polish on it, and it looks like we're looking into a direct portal of Sanctuary Hills there. I think that's the same reflect maps that they put on the Nuka Girl helmet thing, so kind of an odd thing to use there, but it's less noticeable when you're using a proper TV scope. Now, this one right here, scope suppressed version, the sounds of it is... It doesn't sound particularly suppressed, or maybe it does. I'm not really sure what this thing sounds like. Unsuppressed, let's find out, I suppose. Okay, looks like the sounds are a little bit bugged on this thing, but that's something they could probably clear up with keywords easily enough. But this one, it's a scope that is night vision, and I probably would have known that if I played Call of Duty Cold War, but I'm just a fraud, so I didn't. So we'll have to leave that one on the shelf. But since this is a proper TV transition viewing looking scope, I believe that one would actually work with sniper knockdowns, which is always a good sign. But we'll start this off by shooting at gunners all the way from here, and with a bit of keen burst firing, we can keep the muzzle from bouncing around too much. But we've got a very COD-esque recoil here. If I put the effort in to control it, pull the mouse down to compensate for that drift, I think we'll be in pretty good shape. But keep in mind, these guys are armed with modern firearms. You might see the occasional explosion go off every now and then, but as they get a little bit closer to me, I'm shredding them really well. And even without being super close to these guys, we're still getting an okay amount of damage. It looks like that time is over though. Alright, time to do a little bit of VATS work, I think. We'll get a little bit of extra gun-free damage on our secondary target there. Probably not the best target to go for in that situation since he was so far away, but what can you do, eh? We'll grab a little bit of cover here, see if we can't pick off some closer range targets. I can barely see him through the foliage there. Don't think I picked up too many hits from that burst. Nope. Perhaps VATS is the way to go. Where are you? Okay, how could I have predicted that? Sometimes I'm misled by my own nameplates that I put above every enemy. And, looks like we're facing some stiff resistance from these guys. I mean, the DPS on this thing is serviceable enough that I'm not, you know, we're not blowing our gunners out of the park with it. But if we get surrounded by too many dudes, we are going to lose a lot of health from being shot at from basically everything else. So I'm going to take cover behind an explosive car. Great idea. Don't worry, we brought the flak jacket in today. Is that a thing in Call of Duty Cold War? Reduce damage from explosions? I'm going to say yes. Unfortunately, for the attachment points, there's no... That is an MG42, and you, my friend, are getting critted until you drop. Okay, now I've got 0 health left, so Operation Get the Hell Out is now a go. If you can pick off the occasional one, hope for a Nerd Rage burst so I can get some of this health back. You're very close. I like that. We've got a couple of crits, just one crit to use. That's our only target over there. We can find something better. We've got to think our way through this a little bit. That's a lieutenant. That's an easier target. Very little penetration through the trees there, probably because we're using pistol caliber rounds, but even then, they are rather large. That's another kill. I think the Nerd Rage bout is over now. Although, I did hear an idiot savant proc, so we might have yet another lifeline yet. Yep, we do. Oh, clutch. Clutch, mysterious stranger. But even still, we're in the, we're up shit creek without a paddle here, but we can just head glitch our way to victory. It's like we are playing Call of Duty, after all. Come on, Penetrator perk. Don't let me down. And a level up. Perfect. All right, let's use something else for a little bit. So the advanced receiver giving us a little bit of extra damage for our attacks per bullet, obviously at the cost of DPS, but perhaps a scope like this might be slight overkill on a submachine gun like this, but you probably wouldn't get away with anything longer than this. Even the night vision scope, which we haven't really used that much yet, might be a little bit too much. Perhaps we could use that, though. Did I kill someone there? I slowed down for something, and you... That's an anti-material rifle. We've got a decent amount of shots. Oh, boy. Well, there's the sniper knockdown. You could probably barely see it, and that... Oh, he ran out of ammo. Great. Now he's going for the fisticuffs instead. That's a bad choice, buddy. You thought you had it, didn't ya? And just so no one else gets that, I'll just snag that off the ground, please. Is that another one? Surely not. No, it's not fast enough. Well, tactical lean around the corner here. Is that a disarm? Did we shoot him in the arm? Yeah, that was totally calculated. I meant to do that, but... I understand that we're not getting a lot of action out of the other things, but I definitely need every single bullet in this thing that I can get right now. I'm imagining that this thing would blow through the 25 rounds very, very quickly. And even with that faster reload, thanks to sleight of hand or whatever, we're still getting a very considerable gap in DPS here when we need it most. Because if we can't kill these gunners in one good magazine, then I'm going to be in trouble because my aim's bad enough as it is. That's it, mate. You're going to cop it. Surprisingly, it's better. I guess I don't have a stock on this thing, but VATS usage is slightly better. And okay, it's time to move on. I'm going to run around the corner here. I could wait for I've got my AP back, but nah, we're just going for it. Perhaps we could sneak around the back, but considering how the caliber of the weapons that have been thrown at us today, I'd say it's holding up pretty well. You wouldn't expect a submachine gun of any of the vanilla game to... Well, there's only one, but still. Even like a pipe submachine gun wouldn't hold up like this thing. So it's had an admirable effort, to be honest. And that gunner explodes into giblets before me. That's pretty good. Now, what's the gun bash animation like? Just poke with a hot barrel, I suppose, which might add a little bit of energy damage, just a little bit. Bit of a scold. But maybe we could make advantage of it here. If it's like a Warfighter Workshop tier gun bash, we might just start using it as a melee weapon, but I fear that is not the case. Right now, a flashbang would be unreal, but don't have that luxury, unfortunately. There's a big power difference between a version with a 50-round magazine, a suppressor, and one with the standard magazine and without. As a proper endgame weapon, I full-autoed the gunner conscript. I thought he was tougher than that, to be honest, but I think now, at this stage, we could get to using... Probably not that one, to be honest. This one. Try to stagger him on his way up. He's done a pretty good job at fending off all those rounds that I threw at him. He gets out of his cover to charge at me. Big mistake, buddy. It looks like we're about ready to go back into Nerd Rage at this stage. So, look out for that, I suppose. But I think most of our targets are below us. If I could make like a perk in this game, put it into the VATS perk tree. Like this game, the map has a lot of verticality to it, right? So why not have a perk to take advantage of all of the verticality? Like having VATS more accurate against targets so you have elevation on, like XCOM 2, right? Or just any old XCOM game that is uses the height thing. And what is that? That is an MG again, isn't it? Well, you're gonna have to go down, buddy. Not having this nonsense happen again. Now I'm stuck here. He's not gonna peek his head, is he? Not quite. And I have no angle on this guy either. I saw the screen blur, so we're ready to go. There we go. That's good. That's good. Before he can get those shots off, I saw that gun being raised into the air in slow motion. That was do or die time. And so was that. Oh, that's an M60. Okay, that's less terrifying, but I can still hear they all make that same sound, and I think we're almost done here. Just a couple more to clean up at this stage, which is kind of good news, but we'll try to finish off this guy. Screw it, that's it is. We need all of our crits back anyway, so we might just grind up a couple of shots on this thing just to get our VATs up and running again should we need it, because I tend to not do that during fights. So we'll have a little bit of a tactical consideration of that. Or we could just get one-shotted by the Creation Club lady. I mean, we were at low health, so I couldn't call it one-shot, but yeah. Just fell at the last hurdle there. Alright, so it is now the dead of night, and we can finally use our super night vision scope for a precision shot to that guy's nuke in his arm. He goes up in smoke real fast, and looks like the night vision stacks with the perks night vision, so now it looks like daytime looking through the scope. You couldn't get any more night vision than that. Anyways, let's begin, shall we? Don't worry about the sound. This is technically suppressed, so it's all good. Now, just like any rapid semi-automatic weapon that allows you to attach a scope, we could pretty much shoot them, knock them down instantly, probably creep a little bit closer so we're not getting penalized for damage, but then the fight will be over very quickly. Even when a ghoul tries to show up and interrupt all of my VAT sniping and sneak attack criticals, because he's aggroed then, wouldn't he? And he goes down fairly easily there. So against one singular target using a scope with a sniper thing, you wouldn't have any problems, but you know, a bunch of bloodthirsty mercs over there with modern firearms, you might get a run for your money. Worth mentioning that though, if I didn't have the modern firearms mod, I probably would have beaten Gunner's Plaza fairly easily. So as far as it goes, I do believe that weapon, at least in the previous segment, was punching way above its weight, so it's not a mark against it that I got killed by that gunner there. Righto, one last fight, and this time we'll be doing it more of a stealth commando type way. Now, he's a pretty far away, so let's secure some of these shots nice and early by critting him in the face from long range, stacking all of the sneak criticals on with VATS criticals, and we did a pretty good job there. Might be time left to get a quick kill. Actually, no, we staggered him twice through that second to last burst there, so we just shredded him real good. So that'll give you an idea of what this thing can do if you aren't being swarmed with like a 10,000 angry gunners. So as far as I'm aware, like it sits sort of mid to end game tier of like submachine guns, which the game is missing anyway, right? So the best submachine gun in this game is the knockoff Thompson that's in the vanilla game, and that's just terrible. It's no good. It's so bad that I don't rate it enough to give the spray and pray a special mention in the explosive top 5 explosive guns video that I made years ago, and someone actually commented like, where's the special mentions? Like, it doesn't get one because it's terrible. But this sort of fills in that niche of a submachine gun that sure is not going to be the best at range, but it'll be good at close quarters as you want a submachine gun to be at a sort of a mid to end game level. So I feel like it's a pretty good fit for any sort of characters that are up and coming that, you know, they've got a bunch of really strong gun mods to use end game, but something to work their way up there. Because at gun nut rank 2, you can get this thing fairly early to get the modifications and stuff. Would just be a little bit more leveling, but I think it's a pretty solid weapon in terms of balance, and everything else works pretty well too. Apart, you know, I could nitpick the typo in the magazine section, or the perhaps the using the wrong sound, but that's just keyword errors, stuff that you can easily fix. So there's no real glaring issues for this thing. So if you're interested in seeing this thing in your game, check out link in the description. If there's a Xbox port to be used somewhere later, that would be awesome to see as well. I'll put that in the description as well. Also, this is probably about the only gun with a drum magazine that doesn't clip through the player when used with classic holstered weapons, so better and better, right? Thank you very much for watching, guys.